Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to this installment of how to make your website mobile friendly for small businesses. My name is Juan Felipe Rincon, and I'll be your presenter for the next for this session and the next 4 sessions, where we'll hopefully be giving you some tips and techniques on how to make your website mobile friendly. And we'll get started. All right. Again, as I said, my name is Juan Felipe Rincon. I'm a member of the search quality team for Google, and my goal is to make sure that during the next four sessions, which should be probably about 5 to 10 minutes each in length, you'll get some tips and techniques to help you as a small business owner make your website mobile friendly. We will talk over the next 4 sessions about very specific techniques and tools we provide to help you with the process of making your website friendly on mobile devices. Today, we will be talking about the tools that we provide to help you check to see how friendly your website is. And before I get started on actually talking about the tools that we use, let me tell you a little bit about why this matters. The mobile friendliness matters because good user experience matters. And good user experience matters because it keeps users engaged with your website. Engaged users mean users who find that your content is not only useful but usable. That may also mean that they may be more likely to actually refer your content to other users and to other people out there. And as a result, and also as a parallel to that, a bad user experience can actually hurt your site's ranking in search results. There are some particular practices, in fact, when it comes to bad user experience that can have a damaging impact on how your site performs in areas where you could actually avoid very easily. And we will talk about some of those over the next 4 sessions. So let's get started with today's session. I will be talking about 3 different tools that Google provide for ensuring that you can have a good experience and avoid bad practices when it comes to mobile design. And I'll talk about these in sequence. We'll talk about the mobile friendly test, we'll talk about the mobile usability tool, and we will talk about PageSpeed Insights. And I'll talk about some of the features that they have, some of the differences between the two, and when you might want to use one over another. And that way you will be able to make the right choice and inform yourself when it comes to speaking to the folks who manage your website, if you're not the person who manages your own website and does your own coding, or to understand where to go get more help and access more resources to support yourself. Well, let's talk about the mobile-friendly test first. The mobile-friendly test, for the URL, you can use the QR code on your screen or the short URL, or just search for mobile-friendly test on your favorite search engine. Is a straightforward tool that will allow you to quickly check a page on your website to see how mobile-friendly it is. It has a variety of characteristics that I'll call out. Firstly, you will see that on the top, it will show a pass indicator or a fail indicator in red or in green, whether or not, based on the tests that we run on your page, that the mobile-friendly test runs on your page, whether or not that page is considered mobile-friendly. Then you will see on the left a list of the test results for that page and whether or not specific tests passed or failed. And if they failed, it'll explain in straightforward language what failed and what is the problem that you could fix. You'll see in the middle a picture of how Googlebot actually saw the page when it fetched it, when you clicked on the Analyze button at the top. And then you will see on the right-hand column a series of resources and help links to help you figure out what to do next if your page happens to not be mobile-friendly. If you, for example, use a content management system for your website, such as WordPress, Joomla, or anything else that you may be using, it provides links to resources that help you figure out what is the easiest way in that particular system to make your website mobile friendly. And we have resources for a large variety of content management systems in terms of help links and quick guides to point you to the right direction as to how to make that happen. If you, in fact, are not the person who does the technical management of your website, if you are the business owner and you hire somebody else to build the website for you or to manage it for you, it will. There are links to point you to resources that will help you have the conversation necessary with the person who manages your website, who does the code, the development on your site. And if you did build the site yourself, you have the tech, you've developed the skills to do that and want to learn in more detail about the particular elements that the test is talking about, it will also point you to links to our web fundamentals system that has a detailed list of both good practices and technical guidelines as to how to build good responsive websites as a whole. Now I'll call out some of the particular best uses for the mobile-friendly mobile-friendly test and for you to understand what it can and cannot do. The first thing is it does provide plain text explanations, so it's a good way to understand what's going on. It doesn't try to delve too much into the technical detail. It does use Googlebot to fetch your page, so whatever it sees and whatever results this shows will be equivalent to what Google would use to determine if your website is mobile-friendly for mobile search results. The tool tests one URL at a time. And you can test multiple pages in sequence, but it's checking one page at a time. And it will only test for mobile friendliness. There are a variety of other good web development practices that are important for you to consider in your website, but this particular tool will not be testing for those. So after having spoken about the mobile-friendly test, let's talk about the mobile usability tool. The mobile usability tool is actually a feature of Google Webmaster Tools. And if you already have Webmaster Tools, then you've already taken the first step to making your website both more friendly for users and better and more likely better performing for you. Because it is the way, Webmaster Tools is the way that we as Google are able to communicate to you, the website owner, on how we are seeing your website and whether we are having any difficulties with it. It's our way of communicating with the webmaster. So if you already have Webmaster Tools, great. And if you don't already have your website registered on Webmaster Tools, I encourage you to do so. Once you do have your website validated and authorized in Webmaster Tools, you will see the mobile usability test under the search traffic tab on the left-hand side. The mobile usability tool has a couple of features that I want, a few individual elements that I want to highlight in particular. You will see a status indicator along the top. That indicates the date as of which the tests on the pages on your site were conducted. You will see a history of the mobile usability testing for the pages on your site over time. Generally, you will want to see that graph declining over time in terms of the number of errors on the site. And then it will show you the different types of mobile usability errors encountered across pages on your website and the number of pages with those errors. If you click on each one of those individual usability errors, then you will actually see the breakdown for all of the pages that have that type of usability error, the individual pages on your site which show that error, the last date when that page was scanned, and also the history chart for the error rate on that subset of pages over time. And again, you generally want to act so that you have no pages with errors and that you're not seeing increasing numbers or changing numbers over time. And if this graph is showing anything other than a straight line, then it may signal that you may have other problems with your website that are preventing us from fully seeing that it's mobile friendly. If you click on one of these individual pages that shows the error, it will then show you a detail for that error page. That detail will give you first a button that allows you to check if that problem still exists. This tool isn't checking your pages in real time. It's checking the pages as we index them, as we crawl them, and it depends on how frequently we crawl your site. So you can go and check the live version directly by clicking on the button there, which will give you an updated version of whether or not that still has a mobile usability problem. You'll also be able to see a link to guidelines that talk about the specific error in detail in terms of how to go about repairing it. And if you want a lot more detail about the responsive web design guidelines that are are underlying some of the recommendations that we provide, then you can also have a click through to go to our web fundamentals site that will show you more details and more technical explanations as to what's going on. There are a few specific, as with the other two tools, there are some elements you need to keep in mind when we talk about what this tool will do and won't do. This tool will use Googlebot to fetch your pages, and so what this tool sees is what we see when it comes to ranking your page for mobile usability and mobile friendliness. This page does check a relevant subset of pages on your site as they are indexed. So it's not checking all the pages on your site, but it's checking a relevant good subset of those. And it will only test for mobile friendliness and not for other good practices. But it will also keep a history of mobile friendliness on your site. And if you're seeing any changes in the history of mobile friendliness, it may allow you to see some trends on your site regarding particular sections that may need some focus on when it comes to design or layout. Moving on from the mobile usability tool, we can talk now about the PageSpeed Insights tool. PageSpeed Insights, as you can see, there's the QR code if you want a quick reference to it and follow along as we go through it. Will offer you the ability to test for a variety of user experience tests, and across, as you can see along the top, both mobile and desktop experiences. It will test both for user experience when it comes to layout and usability, and also has a certain test for speed of rendering and loading of your page, both of which are important for usability of a web page, whether it's on a desktop or on a mobile device. As you can see, you see the results for the user experience tests along the top and the results for the speed tests along the bottom. And then you can see the view that the PageSpeed Insights fetcher actually had of the page. And you'll also see a score for the tests. And the score, you could use it as a way to gauge your own progress as you go through repairing these elements on your page, because it will give you a sense as to whether or not you're making progress as a whole. If you click on the more details or show how to fix links that are under each of the individual tests, the PageSpeed Insights gives you specific tips as to what to do to address particular usability problems identified or particular speed problems identified in the test of your page. And they'll give you very explicit instructions. And that can actually help you to create, if you will, a checklist of things to just mark off to fix if you are so inclined, or at the very least to understand in particular detail when you look at the source code of your page what items to address or fix. There are some things you do have to keep in mind if you use PageSpeed Insights. It's a really good tool to check for both speed and user experience across mobile and desktop. PageSpeed Insights does not use Googlebot to fetch your page. This matters because if you do not, for example, allow Google to crawl your CSS files or your JavaScript files or your image files, and if those files are important for how your site does a mobile layout, then you might get a great result in PageSpeed Insights when it comes to mobile usability, and yet still fail the mobile-friendly test, because the mobile-friendly test requires Googlebot to be able to see your page as mobile-friendly. So that you may see a discrepancy in the results in that way. It's important to understand that that if you fix all the problems here, you should still take the test with the mobile-friendly tool just to make sure that Googlebot is seeing your page as mobile-friendly. The PageSpeed Insights tool, like the mobile-friendly test, checks for individual URLs at a time, and you can check multiple pages if you want. But this will not be checking your whole website, just the individual URL that you pass along the top. It does test for various best practices, not just for mobile usability. It also tests for speed. And it does provide very specific technical guidance onto how to fix, or how PageSpeed Insights might suggest you try to address or fix the individual problems. One of the caveats or things you should keep in mind is that the recommendations it gives you as to how to fix the problems will fix the problem, may not be the most efficient way to fix the problem, and that's where having an understanding of the help documents that we provide might actually come in handy for you. So as we go forward, that concludes today's installment. We will have 3 more sessions during the next 2 sessions where I will actually go into detail into what each of these recommendations and to each of these areas that the mobile-friendly tool, the PageSpeed Insights tool, or the mobile-usability tool test, and the solutions for those. And we will be talking about those over the next installments. As you go through your website and run it through these tools today, I encourage you to first go and actually take the mobile-friendly test on your site. Read the Webmasters mobile guide that is linked to it from there, which will give you a broad insight as to what we're talking about. And if you need help with your site, if you want to get started on these things, can't wait until next Thursday for the details. You can actually go to our Webmaster forums to get help with your site, to where other members of the community will be happy to assist you, give you guidance and advice on how to implement a mobile-friendly design for your site. I invite you as well to follow us on Google Webmasters, and invite you to follow us on Twitter and Google WMC. And with that, I will turn over to a few questions that you've left, that some of you have left on the Q&A, and then we will conclude today's broadcast after the questions. So let's stop sharing, and now let's go to the questions. So we have the first question. What techniques, practices do you recommend for not loading the whole CSS above the fold? Please show an example for solving such issues. How could I change the browser caching for Google or Facebook related resources? There are a couple of practices that may be a little bit more advanced, but that are important. Firstly, is you could work on minifying your CSS, minifying CSS, which means actually reducing a lot of white space, and also compressing the resources that are actually part of your page in terms of using gzip to actually pack up all of those resources into a bundle. Pretty much all modern browsers are actually able to interpret compressed resources if your web server is indicating that it will provide those resources that way. The other piece is that you can actually include different styling components on your page. CSS, generally speaking, once you download it, and if you are properly using expiration headers on your web server, you could actually communicate to the browser as you're starting the page when to expire this, and communicate possible cache extensions for a very long time for the page, so that you don't actually have to reserve it on the second time. So the first load might be slow, but the second load won't be slow at all. I hope that answers that question. Next question. The content mismatch between the app and the mobile site, will it have impact in ranks or crawl rate of the site? It depends on what you mean by content mismatch. But I wouldn't even say that. I would say if you're managing two different websites, a mobile version of an M.dot site and a regular desktop site, then you should focus on making sure that the content is actually relevant, and that you're properly canonicalizing URLs that are or pages across each other that are actually equivalent. If you have separate pages and they actually are showing separate content, then those will be managed differently. And that was the question that I just answered. Now let's go to the following question. Do you have to pass all 3 of these tools 100% to rank in the mobile search results as of April 21st? It's what I'd say it's a pretty binary test. You're either mobile friendly or you aren't. These tests aren't necessarily the kind of thing that if you want to do it halfway or not, that you're going to be giving a mobile friendly experience, because you're not going to be giving a mobile friendly experience. It's actually important for you to if you load a page very quickly, and if you actually have viewport sizing but your font is too tiny, you're still not giving a good and mobile friendly experience. Now, if it means about all these testing tools, what you should keep in mind is that it's the mobile friendly test that gives you the best indicator, but on individual pages. So if you have particular pages that are very important for your site and you want to make sure that those pages of all, then run them through the test and make sure that those at the very least are passing. Let's select the next question. Is it a good idea to have different sites for desktop and mobile because we are holding back many images? Whether it's a good idea or not will really depend on your configuration and your scenario. I've worked in and I've seen scenarios where two different sites made a lot of sense, and where having one site that used responsive web design made a lot of sense. Generally speaking, if you are a small operation, if you are limited in resources, over time you'll find that maintaining content in two different sites can be a difficult thing to do and can actually take a lot of time. And also maintaining the two in sync can take a lot of time and be expensive, which means responsive web design might be a better way to go. Now, if you do want to have the two different sites because, let's say on mobile you operate in let's say you're serving users in countries where mobile networks might be a little bit slower, and you're trying to hold back images or deliver images a little bit, deliver less content, for example. You can still use responsive web design and CSS to control what actually you are using. And if you perhaps not use images as background images, but instead use CSS gradients, or use coloring and styling that isn't loading images, you might actually be able to get similar experiences. We have a question from the Google group. I have no knowledge about tech. Can you guide me how to fix these issues? I read a lot about these, but not able to understand what exactly is required. One is eliminate render blocking JavaScript and CSS in above the fold content, leverage browser caching, and prioritize visible content. Thank you. Yes, I can definitely explain what those mean. Above the fold means everything that is visible on the page before you scroll the page. So when you load a page on your mobile, everything that is right there on the screen before you have to scroll up, that's what's called above the fold. The way the web pages load on browsers, generally speaking, will load the HTML or the actual source code of the page, the text that you see when you look at view source, first, and then all of the images and resources later, and depending on how important those resources are for showing the page properly, may wait until those are loaded for showing the full page. Now, for something like JavaScript is source code that many web developers will use to make websites more, give websites additional behavior that can't be completed with just basic HTML. And CSS is a particular way, a particular language you can use to provide styling to a web page and provide different styling for a web page without actually having to make your HTML markup have a lot of styling commands. That way you could see your HTML markup and read it like a human and understand what it's saying without having a lot of labeling in it. CSS above the fold and JavaScript above the fold just put all those things that are fundamental and essential for your main page to load in the top of the page, and anything else that could wait a little bit or that could be loaded after the page is displayed, putting it lower down in the actual HTML source code of the page. That's what it means. Browser caching means there are instructions that the web server delivers to the browser that tells the browser this particular document, this file, this image isn't going to change for a long time. And so instead of every single time somebody loads the page going and grab it from the server, save it locally. And that way the page will render quickly. And there are, as a website owner, there are commands or configurations you can do in either your content management system or on your web server to tell the browser this resource can be cached. You don't need to load this next time the page gets reloaded, and that will make that might make the first visit a little bit slower, but subsequent visits will be much quicker. And prioritize visible content is primarily a combination of the two. Is focusing on making sure that the first things that the users see will actually display quickly, and that the things that don't need to be seen later because they are things that show up after you click on a button or something, or after you go to a second page, might be loaded later. Okay, I think we have time for, let's try one more question. We use WP Touch for our WordPress business site. Do these plugins work for Google and April? I don't know specifically about WP Touch and on WordPress for Business, so I can't give you a specific answer as to whether that plugin does work. What I can tell you, though, is if you run your web page as it is with that plugin through the mobile-friendly test, and you're passing the mobile-friendly test on one or a variety of pages, or better yet, if you're already passing in the mobile usability tool and webmaster tools, then you should be fine for it. Let's see. Does Google see content loaded by Ajax if we're using adaptive design? Yes, we do. Let's see. My website is fully responsive, and I do not add the meta viewport tag on my site. So it's compulsory needed to add the viewport tag. It's a very good indicator of your page actually being able to adapt to a variety of different dimensions. It not only affects the width, it also affects it can affect zoomy behavior. I would recommend that unless you have a really strong and good reason not to add the viewport tag on your site, to add it. Now, if what you're finding is that you're not passing the test because you don't have the meta viewport tag on your site, then I would say is you're probably better off trying to add it unless you have a good reason not to. Now, that said, this is probably something we may actually need to issue a further clarification on in detail. I have another question from the group. Does app indexing currently help promote apps for new users, or only ones who are already installed your app? All right. Well, we weren't talking about app indexing right now, but certainly I can answer that question. App indexing will show relevant, deep results for apps that are indexed for users who have that app installed. Now let's follow the next question, and we'll probably be able to answer one more. Can a Google for Work website built in Google Sites pass the test? Well, it depends on how you build it. It should, but it also depends on how you actually lay it out there. It's possible for you to build content in Google for Work on Google Sites that doesn't, because you're using very broad tables that actually span beyond the width of the page and don't adapt, for example. But in general, it should. And one last question from the group. To achieve the mobile-friendly responsive design, it seems better to have two different global menus for PC and mobile users, then switch based on the user agent. Would it be considered as duplicate content? Well, let me address there are two questions there. One is, would it be considered as duplicate content? I said, first of all, don't worry about duplicate content. Worry about what your users are seeing or not seeing, and the duplicate content piece, let us tackle that. When it actually comes to switching based on user agent, if you are properly doing a mobile-friendly responsive design, you're not switching. You're not switching based on user agent. You're switching based off of media indicators on your CSS. If you're switching based on user agent at the moment of requesting the page and actually just delivering a different page based off of you're doing user agent detection, then what you're actually doing is trying to guess at what the browser is going to be displaying, and you might be making a very good guess, but you're still making a guess. And so you might, when it comes to making a display for PCs that has a menu like this, and for mobile that has it in vertical, that's actually perfectly. That can actually be perfectly fine. It might not necessarily be the best. It might not necessarily be the best practice, because again, user agent detection can be very coarse. You might be better off using media detection in CSS to actually make the determination as to whether to display the broad menu or the narrow menu. And that way, if I'm on a browser and I just want to shrink the page, I can still use the page effectively. And if I stretch it out sideways, I can still use it broadly. And on mobile devices, it works. And that's it. I'm sorry if we weren't able to get to the questions you asked through this website. We'll make our effort to actually answer them on the thread for this discussion. I hope this has been useful for you, and certainly I hope you will be able to join us for the following three. And with that, thank you very much for your attention. I hope to see you next week.